American Truck Simulator is set in North America, and the upcoming Truck World Australia is, well, supposed to take place right here, in the middle of Europe? Sorry, wrong continent. It's obviously set to take place in Australia, but what you're looking at right now isn't the United States, and it's definitely not Truck World Australia because that game isn't even out yet. So what could it be? Is it A, SES Software's secret project Australian Truck Simulator, or B, a modded map for ATS? If you picked B, congratulations, that must have been a really hard guess. So what you're seeing is a standalone map mod for ATS, one that I originally wanted to review on its own like we did with so many other map mods. But the more I played this, gathering footage and driving around, the more I kept thinking about something, and I couldn't help but wonder, is this a better experience than what the upcoming TWA would have to offer? And I know comparing a map mod to a brand new game that hasn't even released yet isn't really fair. Or is it? Because the more time I spent driving around this modded environment, the more it felt like those people saying that Truck World Australia will not be able to come even close to SES's titles might actually be onto something. To understand where this is coming from, we need to take a step back and look at the situation as it is today. American Truck Simulator has been around since 2016, which means it has 10 years of constant development, and just like its older brother ETS2, it slowly built itself up state by state, update by update into a fairly complete truck sim experience. With a massive map supported by an entire ecosystem of mods, which helps a lot in keeping the experience fresh. I think SES Software understood what makes these games work and doubled down on it, especially with ATS, because at its core, it's all about the feeling of the open road, and as generic as that might sound, it's true. The overall driving and exploration experience is where it should be. The in-cab driving feel is quite honestly some of the best you can get in any trucking sims right now, and while there's always room for more trucks and more features, it already has a strong base and a solid lineup of officially licensed trucks you can get to choose from. On top of that, the map itself is constantly expanding and it's going to keep growing for a while. Now, when we look at Truck World Australia, the situation looks a bit uncertain. The game was first announced back in 2020, and after the initial hype and a clear confirmation that an audience eager for an Australian trucking simulator exists, it went quiet for a few years. And while development updates have started to become a bit more frequent recently, what we're actually seeing right now, 6 years later, is still just a fairly early version of what could be a good game. We even got a demo on Steam, and the short experience wasn't bad by any means, but it felt a bit underwhelming. And that could be for a number of reasons: the lack of licensed trucks, the visuals, the work-in-progress map. If you try to compare those things to ATS, it's gonna be a really short conversation. But to be fair, Truck World Australia teased the functionality worth mentioning: the ability to step outside the truck, to walk around and interact with it, and actually go through certain actions like manually coupling a trailer yourself. And that can seem like an important feature, but as we learned from Alaskan road truckers, that novelty alone is not enough to make it worth playing. Another selling point was the fact that this game, unlike anything else out there, was set to take place in an entirely new continent, bringing a whole new experience, so it could still develop and grow in a place where no other modern truck sim went, right? Well, as I came to learn recently, you don't really need a new game to be trucking in Australia. The Australian Outback is a standalone map mod for ATS. From the moment you load into it, it's pretty clear that this is a big project that's built with a clear intention in mind. Its creator, Rob, describes it as a project he worked on for countless of hours, hoping that eventually it could be something he would do full time. And instead of going for size, even though it's built on a much bigger canvas than the base game, which is currently built on a 120 scale, you can sense the fact that the primary focus was based on quality over quantity. The roads themselves feel quite different. You've got fully modeled 3D beaten and dirt roads, paired with altered physics that change how the truck actually behaves, especially when it comes to the grip. It's subtle, but it really makes a difference since it almost feels like the map reacts to your driving, if that makes sense. This might be a bit hard to see through the video, but when you try this yourself, especially on the unpaved roads, you'll be able to relate. For the in-game locations, I can say they're really nicely made. Places like Kuladi with a Folkestrap roadhouse are a real treat to pass by. They feel placed with purpose, attention to detail, and a sense that somebody actually loved dreaming about how this world will come together. That's really the core idea behind this project, an Australian experience that grows into something that feels believable, something that's worth exploring. The more time I spent in this world, combined with everything else ATS already offers, the trucks, the graphic mods, the freedom to shape my experience however I want to, the more I had to wonder whether this could actually be a better alternative for an Australian trucking sim than a brand new game that, at least right now, doesn't have too much to show for. The lighting feels amazing, and the roads actually make sense, especially when you hit those dirt sections where the truck starts reacting a bit differently. The whole environment has that dry, open atmosphere that you would expect from a place like this. And obviously, what makes it work so well ain't just the map itself, but more like a combination of everything that ATS has to offer. The ability to install this map, pair it with an Australian truck, maybe a custom fuel or cattle trailer, open up American Truck Simulator and feel like you're in Australia is really hard to beat in terms of convenience. Now, considering all this, it could also be that it's a bit too early to judge, and maybe there's still hope for Truck World Australia to finish their game and keep developing it so we'll have a reason to choose it instead. Maybe they could focus on the economy, company management, or anything else that would feel like a plus besides ATS. But my take on it is simply based on what I've seen myself, having played both the demo, seeing some early gameplay footage that they sent me, and this mod. So far, my choice would heavily be one-sided. The graphics, even if aided by mods and plugins, look better in ATS. The licensed trucks are a big plus, and you have a huge collection of mods that speaks for themselves. Competition is always welcomed, and I embrace the idea of more trucking sims coming to us players, but in hindsight, after playing this amazing map mod and seeing its potential, I just don't know if I would feel the need to rush into a dedicated Australian truck sim when I already have Australia at home in American Truck Simulator. However, there is an important announcement that dropped on the 27th of March, which is a few days after I wrote down my thoughts that I just shared through this video. Truck World Australia made a post announcing that they will be closing the Prologue Steam page, meaning the demo will no longer be available to test out. They came out and said that at this point, First Haul no longer reflects the current state of the game. A lot of it has changed, including core elements such as controls, physics, and the overall optimization. With this new piece of information, I'm even more intrigued. And maybe, just maybe, the race for the best Australian trucking experience is far from being over. Let me know what you think about this, and if you haven't already, I do recommend that you try this mod for yourself. If you enjoy this type of content, I hope you end up subscribing. It really helps us push this content out to more truck sim fans. And as always, until the next time, stay safe on the road and keep on trucking. Cheers.